Although aviation is considered one of the safest modes of transport, not a year goes by without tragedies that remind us that the sky does not forgive mistakes. Thousands of planes take to the skies every day. Millions of people cross oceans and continents. And yet, sometimes, something happens that could not have been predicted. Some of these moments are captured on camera, forever immortalizing the last seconds before disaster strikes. These are the most terrifying but instructive images, when human technology collides with merciless reality. One such case was the tragedy that occurred on April 29, 2013 in Afghanistan. A surveillance camera at the airbase recorded how a huge Boeing 747 military transport aircraft, loaded with armored vehicles, suddenly lost control shortly after taking off. During takeoff, one of the armored vehicles came loose, and its weight shifted the center of gravity. The vehicle damaged the metal structures inside the fuselage, hit the stabilizers, and disrupted the aerodynamic balance. In a matter of seconds, the aircraft began to tilt, went into a tailspin and, without gaining altitude, crashed to the ground. There was a powerful explosion, which was captured on camera by eyewitnesses. All 7 crew members were killed. After the investigation, Boeing introduced new, stricter requirements for securing cargo on board to prevent a similar tragedy from happening again. One of the most famous plane crashes, which happened right in front of thousands of people, was the tragedy near Lviv on July 27, 2002. During an air show, a Su-27 fighter jet was performing an aerobatic maneuver when it suddenly lost control and crashed into a crowd of spectators. This event shocked not only Ukraine but the whole world. 75 people were killed, including 28 children, and more than 500 were injured. The investigation showed that the pilots deviated from the approved flight plan and made a mistake while performing the maneuver. Although both pilots managed to eject, they were found guilty of negligence. The chief pilot was sentenced to 14 years in prison, and the co-pilot to 8. It was the largest air disaster at a show in European history. An equally shocking incident occurred in the United States, in the state of Washington. A dashcam captured the moment when a light single-engine plane suddenly lost thrust and began to fall straight onto a busy highway. The footage shows it hitting a pole, breaking power lines, and exploding in a ball of flames. It seemed that this would inevitably end in tragedy, but a miracle happened. The pilot and passenger survived, and no drivers on the road were injured. The plane was completely destroyed, but life itself triumphed over chance. In 2015, footage of a disaster in Taiwan went viral around the world. An ATR-72 passenger plane lost one engine 38 seconds after takeoff. The crew tried to shut down the faulty engine, but in their haste, they made a mistake and shut down the working one. The plane tilted, lost altitude, and hit a car on a bridge with its wing, then crashed into the river. Rescuers arrived within half an hour and began the operation using inflatable boats. Of the 58 people on board, only 15 survived. The pilots heroically tried to save the plane until the last second, but fate proved stronger. Similar tragedies have occurred on other continents. In 2013, in Iceland, during the landing of a small private plane, the pilot lost control. The aircraft overturned and 2 passengers were killed, but the pilot himself miraculously survived. In West Virginia, during an air show, 2 planes collided in the air. One fell and exploded, killing the pilot instantly. A similar disaster occurred in Malta. During a demonstration flight, one plane hit the tail of another, causing it to lose control and crash into the sea. Disasters at air shows often occur because of pilots' desire to impress spectators with risky stunts. For example, during a performance in Madrid, a pilot lost control and the plane crashed into the ground, killing the pilot and injuring 8 people. In Toronto, a similar incident ended more fortunately. The plane crashed far from the spectators, and no one was injured. An equally dramatic story took place in Crimea in 2006. During takeoff, a bird flew into the engine of a Tu-134 aircraft. The pilots tried to brake urgently, but did not have time. The plane spun around on the runway, The fuselage broke in half and instantly burst into flames. It seemed that there was no chance of survival, but all 28 people on board survived, a real gift of fate. In 1996, the whole world watched a horrific scene unfold in the Indian Ocean. A Boeing 767 was hijacked by 3 terrorists demanding political asylum in Australia. When the fuel ran out, the pilots decided to land the plane on the water off the coast of the Comoros Islands. Cameras captured the moment when the plane touched the surface of the ocean, broke into pieces, and sank. Of the 175 people on board, only 50 survived. The rest perished, including all the hijackers. These images later became a training example for pilots around the world. Alaska, 2010. A military transport plane was preparing for an upcoming air show. The crew was practicing aerobatic maneuvers when the aircraft suddenly lost lift. The pilots tried to level the plane, but it went into a dive and crashed. All 4 crew members were killed. But even after all these disasters, aviation remains the safest mode of transport. According to statistics, fewer than 150,000 people have died in the sky since the beginning of flight. By comparison, many more people die in road traffic accidents around the world in just a few months. Every flight is the result of the work of hundreds of engineers, dispatchers, pilots, and security services. That is why the probability of dying in a plane crash is 1 in a million. So, despite these horrific images, there is no need to be afraid of flying. Airplanes are a symbol of progress and man's desire to reach new heights. After all, the sky is not for falling, but for flying. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel and like the video if you believe that even the darkest stories can teach us to appreciate life.